He fired me with a compliment. I remember the scale model of the Oceanic Gateway project between us, a model I had spent sleepless nights carving. Marcus, the firm's managing partner, ran his fingers along the innovative curve of the roof, a structural solution I had dreamed of and designed. "It's a masterpiece, Clara," he said, with that charismatic smile he used to charm clients and soothe investors. "You've truly outdone yourself. This is the project that will put our name in history." I had been with Sterling and Croft Architects for 10 years. I was the last protege of Mr. Sterling, the founder and a genius of American architecture, who, now in his 80s, was finally retiring. He taught me not just to design buildings, but to give them a soul. The Oceanic Gateway project, an innovative coastal cultural complex, was my master's thesis, my manifesto, the culmination of everything I had learned. But Marcus, who had always been an excellent administrator and a mediocre creator, lived in Mr. Sterling's shadow, and for the past few years, in mine. With the founder's departure, he saw his chance to finally step out from behind the scenes and become the starchitect he always dreamed of being. "And that's precisely why," he continued, his tone shifting from admiration to a cold formality, "the board and I have decided that the project needs new leadership for its execution phase, a more senior leadership, more aligned with the firm's new global image." The air in the room grew thin. I felt a chill run down my spine. "We're going to take care of you, of course," he said, pushing a thick envelope across the table. "This is an extremely generous severance package. Consider it a thank you for all your brilliant conceptual work." The euphemism was almost a work of art in its cruelty. He wasn't firing me. He was buying my masterpiece and erasing me from the photograph. He was offering me money to disappear quietly and let him reap the rewards of my work, of my soul. I looked at him, at the man I once called a colleague, a friend. I saw the raw ambition in his eyes, the hunger for a recognition he could never achieve on his own merit. "I understand," I said, my voice a controlled whisper. I took the envelope, feeling the weight of my own purchased silence. "I wish the project success, Marcus." He relaxed, a visible relief washing over his shoulders. He thought he had won. He thought the money had bought my silence, my compliance. But he didn't know that every line of that project, every curve, every impossible solution carried my invisible signature, a signature that soon the entire architectural world would learn to recognize. He wasn't just stealing a project, he was lighting a fuse. The following months were a silent exile. The severance package was indeed generous, enough to keep me comfortable while I processed the stab in the back. I watched the news about the Oceanic Gateway project from a distance in architectural magazines and online portals. The photos showed Marcus on the construction site, wearing a white hard hat, pointing at the structures I had designed, explaining the concepts I had created. Every article that called him the new, brilliant mind of American architecture was like salt in the wound. My friends encouraged me to fight, to expose the truth. "You have the sketches, Clara, the original files," my friend Olivia would say. But I knew that a public fight, a he said, she said battle in court, would only tarnish the project and my own reputation. Marcus would count on that. He would paint me as a bitter, resentful ex-employee. I needed a bigger stage, a stage where the truth didn't need to be shouted, merely revealed. And then Marcus, in his boundless arrogance, gave me that stage. It was on a Tuesday morning, 6 months after I left. I was having coffee when I saw the headline on an international architecture portal. The Golden Pritzker Prize announces its finalists. And there it was, Oceanic Gateway Project by Marcus Croft. My heart stopped. The Golden Pritzker, the most prestigious award in the world. The Oscar of architecture. It was the dream of a lifetime. Our dream, which we once shared. And he had submitted it, erasing my name from history, putting only his own. I felt a wave of icy fury, but it was immediately followed by a sharp clarity. This was it. This was the stage I had been waiting for. He wasn't just trying to win an award. He was trying to solidify his legacy with my masterpiece. And he would do it in front of every major name in global architecture. My secret weapon wasn't just proof, it was a concept. Within the Oceanic Gateway project, there was a structural solution I called the inverted cantilever beam. It was a technique that defied gravity in a way no one had ever managed to execute on the large scale. It was so unique, so mine, that I had presented it in my doctoral thesis years before. It was my signature. Any real architect, any Pritzker judge, upon analyzing the structure in depth, would recognize the genius and, with a little investigation, the authorship. Marcus was a good manager, but a poor architect. He didn't understand the depth of my solution. He saw it as a beautiful shape, but he didn't grasp its essence. He wouldn't be able to explain it, to defend it before a jury of masters. In that moment, my plan formed. I didn't need lawyers. I didn't need a media fight. I just needed a plane ticket to Venice where the award ceremony would take place. He had set the stage, prepared the audience, and lit the spotlights. All I had to do was show up for my close-up. The trap is set on an international stage. If you, like me, are eager to see the elegance of this revenge, take a moment and subscribe to the channel. The big night in Venice promises to be unforgettable. My revenge would not be built on anger, but on surgical precision. The following weeks were a period of calculated calm. While Marcus was giving interviews and posing for photos as the new genius of architecture, I was working behind the scenes. First, I contacted the Pritzker Prize Committee. I didn't make a formal accusation. That would be vulgar and predictable. Instead, I sent an elegant email as a stakeholder in the legacy of the Oceanic Gateway project, offering to provide original conceptual materials and development documentation to assist in the jury's final evaluation. I attached only the first page of my doctoral thesis, the one describing the theory of the inverted cantilever beam. It was a subtle but powerful bait. The response came in less than 24 hours, an invitation for a confidential video conference with two of the most respected members of the jury. Next, I used part of the money from my generous severance package to hire the best PR firm in London, one specializing in reputation management in the arts. The plan wasn't to attack Marcus, but to build my own narrative. We began to subtly leak articles to niche architecture blogs and influential journalists about the genius behind the new school of American structuralism, always illustrated with the theoretical concepts from my thesis. Marcus's name was never mentioned. The name of the Oceanic Gateway project wasn't either. We were just establishing in the subconscious of the architectural world that the mind behind that innovation was mine. Marcus's panic didn't come from a call from me, but from his own peers. A former professor of his called me. Confused. "Clara, I saw an article about your theories. It's fascinating. It's the same conceptual basis as Marcus's new project, isn't it? Did you two collaborate on that?" I just smiled and said, "It's a small world in architecture, Professor." He was being questioned. The seeds of doubt were planted. He probably didn't understand where the pressure was coming from, but he had to be feeling it. His narrative of the lone genius was starting to show cracks. He couldn't attack me, as that would only lend credibility to the connection between my work and his. He was trapped.
My publicist summed it up perfectly. We're not going to throw stones at him, Clara. We're just going to shine a light so bright on you that his shadow becomes undeniable. With my plane ticket to Venice in hand and a stunning gown commissioned, I was ready. I wasn't going to the ceremony as a victim seeking justice. I was going as the true author, ready to silently take my credit. Venice greeted me with a cold mist, which seemed to mirror the silent war that was about to unfold. I arrived 2 days before the ceremony, at the invitation of the prize committee, who put me up in the same luxury hotel as the jurors and finalists. The first encounter with Marcus was at the hotel's breakfast. He was at a table with investors, laughing loudly, the very picture of confidence. When he saw me, his smile froze for a fraction of a second. His eyes widened in shock, and for an instant I saw a spark of pure panic. He quickly composed himself, but the damage was done. His calm was a sham. He stood up and came over to my table, forcing a smile. "Clara, what a surprise! What brings you to Venice?" "I came to celebrate the great night of architecture, Marcus. I wouldn't miss it for the world, especially with such a familiar project being a finalist." The word familiar hit him like a stone. He turned pale. "Well, it's good to have you here," he stammered, before hastily retreating to his table. His confidence had been shaken. He didn't know what I was doing there, but he knew it wasn't a coincidence. Later, I ran into one of the jurors at the bar, a legendary Japanese architect I idolized. He bowed respectfully. "Miss Vance, your thesis on cantilevered structures, remarkable, a truly revolutionary approach. We discussed your work at length in our deliberations. My heart leaped. I'm honored that you read it, master." He looked at me with his wise eyes. "True authorship always leaves a signature, does it not? Even if another name is on the door." He gave an enigmatic smile and walked away, leaving me with the certainty that my plan had worked better than I could have imagined. The jury knew. Maybe not the whole story, but they knew. They had seen my signature. That night, I received a call from a blocked number. It was Marcus. His voice was no longer charismatic. It was a hissing whisper, filled with venom. "What are you doing, Clara? What is this game? If you try to ruin my night, I will destroy your career. I have resources. I have influence." "I'm not doing anything, Marcus. I just came to watch you receive the fruits of your labor. You should be happy. Unless, of course, there's something you're worried about." I hung up before he could respond. The chaos was no longer internal, at a firm. It was inside him. The fear of being exposed, the paranoia. He was unraveling, and the ceremony hadn't even begun. The tension is at its peak, and the world of architecture is about to witness a historic turning point. Stories of women who use intelligence as their main weapon are the soul of our channel. If you admire that strength, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the climax of this ceremony. The grand hall of the Palazzo Ducale was breathtaking, a testament to the architectural glory that surrounded us. I was seated at a strategically placed table, courtesy of the committee, with a perfect view of the stage. I wore a simple, elegant black silk gown. I didn't need to sparkle. My work would speak for me. Marcus was at the front table, surrounded by his PR team, looking like an actor on opening night, a mixture of euphoria and dread. When we saw each other once, I just smiled. He immediately looked away. The ceremony proceeded. Smaller awards were given, speeches were made. The tension in the air was palpable. Finally, the moment arrived. The host, a renowned architectural critic, took the stage to announce the Golden Pritzker Prize. "This year," he began, his voice echoing through the hall, "the jury was faced with a project of such structural audacity and poetic beauty that it redefines what we thought was possible. A project that not only dialogues with its landscape, but reshapes it." Stunning images of the Oceanic Gateway project filled the giant screen behind him. My heart was hammering against my ribs. Those were my lines, my curves, my soul laid bare for the world to see.
The 2024 Golden Pritzker Prize goes to the Oceanic Gateway Project by architect Marcus Croft. Applause erupted. Marcus closed his eyes, a spasm of relief and triumph washing over his face. He stood up, hugged his team, and walked to the stage like a conquering hero. He took the heavy golden trophy, the lights glinting in his teary eyes. He approached the microphone, ready to cement his name in history. I am speechless. This is the moment every architect dreams of. But the host raised a hand, gently interrupting him. Marcus, if I may, before your speech, we have a small correction to make. Due to a clerical error in the submission process, the primary credit for this project was listed incompletely. A murmur went through the hall. Marcus's smile faltered, freezing on his face. The jury, after a thorough analysis of the structural concepts and development documentation, the host continued, looking directly at me in the audience, recognized the unmistakable signature of the mind that originated this masterpiece. We would like to invite to the stage the lead architect and the true visionary behind the Oceanic Gateway Project. Please, a round of applause for Clara Vance. The silence was absolute for a second, followed by even louder wave of applause, fueled by the shock and drama of the moment. The spotlight found me. With the same calm I had when I left his office months ago, I rose and walked towards the stage. Marcus was paralyzed, trophy in his hands, his face a mask of horror and disbelief. He watched me approach, and I saw the exact moment he understood he had lost. I stopped beside him, didn't touch him, didn't confront him. I just took the other microphone. "Thank you," I said, my voice clear and firm, echoing through the hall. "I would like to thank the Pritzker Committee for this incredible recognition. And I would like to thank Marcus," I said, turning to him with a smile that didn't reach my eyes, "for the opportunity to lead this project from its conception and for his trust in my most audacious solutions." On the screen, as if by magic, the image of the building was replaced by one of my first hand-drawn sketches, the date visible in the corner, next to my signature. The proof was there, for all to see, not as an accusation, but as a fact. The revenge was complete. It wasn't a shout. It was a whisper. And it was the loudest whisper the architectural world had ever heard. The night in Venice didn't end with Marcus's speech. He never gave it. He stammered a few incoherent words about collaboration and complex creative processes before stumbling off the stage, leaving the heavy golden trophy behind. The international press, smelling a historic scandal, didn't chase him. They chased me. My publicist had to form a human shield to get me out of the palazzo. The story exploded across the globe. Forbes ran a piece titled "The Ghost Architect of the Pritzker." The New York Times called it the signature that rewrote history. I didn't have to give a single accusatory interview. My original sketches, my doctoral thesis, and the in-depth analyses from revered architectural critics did all the work for me. They dissected the inverted cantilever beam, celebrating its genius and tracing its clear lineage back to my academic work. The narrative wasn't about my revenge, it was about my art. And in doing so, Marcus wasn't portrayed as a villainous mastermind. He was depicted as something far worse in our world, a mere administrator who tried to wear a genius's clothes. His reputation was shredded. Potential clients for Sterling and Croft pulled out of multi-million-dollar deals overnight. No one wanted to be associated with a firm whose lead partner's greatest achievement was built on a lie. His career didn't end with a bang, but with the deafening silence of being forgotten. The firm he tried to build in his own image crumbled. Key partners left, ashamed of the association. Within a year, Sterling and Croft Architects, once a titan of the industry, was a hollow shell, forced to downsize and sell off its prime real estate just to stay afloat.
He had grasped for a legacy, and in doing so had incinerated his own. I didn't return to the States immediately. The world had suddenly opened up to me. I spent the next few months in Europe, accepting invitations to lecture at the most prestigious universities and consult on monumental projects. The calls weren't just offers, they were appeals from people who wanted to work with the mind behind the signature. But I knew I didn't want to join another pre-existing structure. I wanted to build my own. A year after that night in Venice, I opened my own studio in Lisbon, a minimalist, light-filled space overlooking the Tagus River. I named it Atelier Vance. It wasn't a large corporation designed for profit, but a boutique studio focused on a handful of projects at a time, projects with a soul. And the first person I hired was Mr. Sterling, my old mentor who had resigned from the board of his old firm the day after the scandal broke, disgusted by what Marcus had done. He didn't come as an employee, but as consultant emeritus and chief coffee partner. He always knew you were the true heir to my legacy, Clara, he told me on our first day as we looked out at the river, a cup of coffee in our hands. Marcus inherited the name on the door, but you inherited the line of the pencil. The Golden Pritzker Trophy sits on a simple shelf in my new office. The committee, after a formal and very public review, officially credited the award solely to me, with a brief footnote for the executing firm. It's a beautiful, heavy, shiny object, but it's not my greatest victory. My true victory is the phone that never stops ringing, with invitations to design museums in Tokyo, wineries in Italy, and memorials in New Zealand. It's the freedom to choose my projects, to create on my own terms, to say no more often than I say yes. It's the respect of my peers who now don't just see a building, but the signature behind it. Marcus tried to steal my legacy. By putting it on the world's biggest stage, he ended up making it legendary. He wanted my place in history, but all he managed to do was provide the spotlight for me to claim it myself, unforgettably. The best revenge, I discovered, is not to destroy the person who wronged you. It's to become so undeniably, irrefutably brilliant that your light simply erases their shadow from existence. Clara's story shows us that the best revenge isn't an act of destruction, but of creation, building a success so undeniable it rewrites history. If you were inspired by her genius, please leave a like so YouTube can share this story with more people. And of course, if you're not yet part of our community, subscribe now so you don't miss any stories. It's amazing how narratives like this can connect people from all over. So we can get an idea of how far our stories are reaching. Please comment below what city, state, or country you're watching from right now. We would love to see our community on the map. Take care, and until the next story.